Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Hi.
Hey.
It's Not the Weekend podcast. Absolute Radio, Frank Skinner, Emily Dean, Steve Williams. I'll say that again, Emily Dean. Steve Williams.
Oh, God.
Friend of the show. What about that?
Very happy
I mean,
with
you're
that.
a bit more than a friend of the show. I see you as part of our repertory company.
I'm so relieved, Steve. I thought he was going to crowbar in some Deer Hunter reference. Even he couldn't pull that off.
I was on the verge.
Better than the grassy knoll, Frank.
It was. I don't know. I thought the grassy knoll on the day was the key spot. When we actually drew lots,
Choice location.
I was hoping I would have snatched their hand off a grassy knoll. There was a little bit of shade there, you see, on the verge.
Lovely.
We were in blazing sun.
And you were right next to the Zapruder's lovely family.
Also, I was there so long. We had to get there earlier because there was a rear access to the grassy knoll, whereas the verge you had to be there basically before the crowds arrived. And you keep trying your telescopic sight, and I got a really red ring round my eye. And I thought, if we're caught, I do not want one of those police usual suspects photos with me with a big red. Look, I've got a monocle on, like the Planters man, Mr. Planter. You know Mr. Planter? That peanut in a monocle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't look at me like you don't know what I'm talking about. Can I just say, from the legal purposes, I'm not in any way associating Mr. Planter with the killing of John F. Kennedy.
No.
That kind of loose talk is what gets people in court.
Frank, we've had an email in. This is from B in Cambridge.
B.
Yeah, I wonder if her name's Beatrice.
Oh, is it B-E-A?
Yes, B-E-A.
Doesn't Princess Beatrice, is she...
What, the psychotic one?
Is she psychotic?
Well, she was psychotic at the royal wedding in that hat.
Can we say that was actually a casual term, that we're not suggesting for a second that Princess Beatrice is psychotic in any way? I think
makeup.
she's exotic.
Her eye makeup and her hat looked somewhat psychotic at the royal wedding.
I liked her hat. I liked it.
So did I.
It was Dali-esque.
Anyway, B in Cambridge.
Her face was Dali-esque as well. It had the sort of melting watch look to it.
B says, Dear Frank et al. Okay. I've just been packing up my belongings at the end of my penultimate term at university.
Oh,
obviously Cambridge, lovely. And upon realising what most of my bags and boxes contained, my immediate thought was Books and Bras, a novel by Beryl Bainbridge. It's come to this. Love the show and happy to hear Emily back. Oh, I didn't mean to read that complimentary bit, but I'm glad I did.
Yes. She sounds a great girl, though, because Books and Bras, to me, is that perfect combination for a long-term life partner, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
A bit of laciness and the odd chat about Beckett.
Yeah.
Perfect. But I tell you that, I had a bit of an experience of that kind myself this week.
Really?
I went... speaking of high intellectualism, I went to see John Carter in 3D. Do you know John Carter?
No.
It's the new Disney sci-fi movie.
Oh. Strange name for a Disney movie.
It is, isn't it?
Well, it's based on the Edgar Rice Burroughs books.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of books, I don't know if I can get brass into this a bit. Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote Tarzan.
Okay.
Right.
Also wrote this thing, and it's about a bloke who he's in the Civil War, and he gets a bit of a knock, and when he wakes up, he's on Mars.
What?
Yeah, and you can breathe and stuff up there, apparently, in this book. So they made a film of that, and it's... so I went to see it at the IMAX, the big
Yes,
the big
I'm aware
cinema.
of it.
Yeah,
It's the biggest screen in Britain.
Is it?
And that was a bit of a sad moment, because... the last time I went to the IMAX, which is a while back, the man came out and said, put on your glasses and blah, 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 and leave at the exit at the back. And then he went, and enjoy the IMAX experience, the biggest screen that Europe's ever seen. And then he left, and I thought, brilliant, you never get that in cinema.
No.
And this time they said, the biggest screen in Britain, and I thought, there's been a build on the continent. They're sly. They're supposed to be a big recession with the euro. They're building the biggest screen, bigger than the one in London. So I watched it, and then I went with my girlfriend's sister.
Mm-hmm.
we have what we call film clubs, so we go on regular film trips. And then
We shouldn't be talking about it then. It's like Fight
Yeah.
Club, presumably.
Oh, yeah. The thing with film club is there is no film club. So we had coffee at the cafe at the cinema, and I got the impression there were people in there who hadn't watched any of the films, who'd come in, thought, let's go out for a coffee. Why don't we go to that one at the cinema? I'd never do that. You're not welcome in
yeah.
my... If you're not going to watch the film, stay out. It's like when you eat, when
Stay
you
out
eat...
the foyer.
Yeah.
It's like eating in shopping malls or something. I don't eat in stores, just so you know, Steve. That's my personal rule. I'm phobic about it. But I know exactly what you mean, Frank. If you haven't sampled the wares...
Are you saying you don't like a food court?
Oh, it makes me feel sick.
I love a
Oh,
food
I hate a
court.
food
Around
court.
the world in 80 days. That's what it's like. So anyway, me and Rachel, that's her name, we sat down and we realised there was 3 women sitting in the same seating area. 3 very attractive young women.
Yeah.
2 with very short skirts and 1 with very tight leggings, and they all look great. I mean, they look like models.
Right. Yeah.
They'd all
Frank.
got their right leg over their left leg, the 3 of them.
There's too much detail now.
Wait for it.
Okay.
They were all reading novels.
They're all reading novels.
Yeah.
At a cinema.
This is in the bar.
No, in the cafe.
This is in the cafe.
In the
of the cinema.
Flapjack and Coffee Cafe.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
But they weren't split. They were just just the 3 of them sitting in silence reading these books. So we were saying, what's going on? What's going on? And thinking, we'd just seen a sci-fi film. Could there be aliens? Was your first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were that shocked people were reading books in a cinema.
And Rachel said to me, we should take a photo. So we can't. If I'm seen taking a photo of 3 women like that.
Yeah, of course.
But it was so
course.
bizarre.
It is bizarre.
And then after about 20 minutes, one of them looked up from her book, and they were foreigners. One of them said, and she put her, they were aliens. She put her bookmark, they all put their bookmarks in and got up and went.
That explains
Really?
why they were reading if they were foreigners.
Yeah, exactly. I got suspicious when I saw the books were the right way up. I thought, they're not English. So I think they must be on holiday or something, and
Yeah.
they've been completely upfront about sometimes you're with friends and you just get a bit fed up of them.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
want a bit
yeah.
of a break.
Yeah.
So they've thought, let's face it, conversation's drying up. Those last couple of jokes I could take or leave. Let's have a book break. And they've read for. It was such a brilliant thing.
Maybe they've come to see the second biggest screen in Europe and read in the lobby.
Yeah. Come to love exactly, in contempt, an act of contempt. The screen is so small, I will not even go and read this.
Sit in protest.
So odd, though, and I wondered if they had a sort of a book club thing going on. If they said, "How's yours?" Oh, it's pretty good at this point, but there didn't seem to be any conversation.
They
about
didn't
the
talk
book.
to each other at all.
Well, they just sort of, let's go kind of stuff. And off they went. Yeah, let's go read somewhere else.
See, I behaviour like that at cinemas it's like when I went to watch film once and there was the
But
people in
can I
front-
say they weren't
No,
in
I
the cinema?
totally get that.
That
There's-
would have been
there's
odd.
certain etiquette in a cinema. Like I was in the theatre once, and the cinema theatre, and the people in front of me were eating hummus and olives. Now you don't do that in a cinema either.
You do in Islington, darling.
Oh no!
But
I
the
wouldn't turn up to your polo and eat popcorn. So
But
you
in
don't do
fact-
that in
but
my
then-
cinema.
but then-
My polo. When did we establish that I attended the
My polo.
My polo.
That was like Benny Hawkins from Crossroads. if I want to have a China, I do have a China. I'm not going to your polo.
Your polo. I know what you're like with your highfalutin ways.
So I've lost now.
Okay, I'll tell you what we were
no,
talking
but
about.
you see, one thing one could argue there is popcorn is quite noisy for a cinema.
Yes, it is.
Whereas
Yeah.
hummus and olives, not virtually noise-free.
Silent.
Yeah, true. I like a boiled sweet in a cinema. That wrapper.
Oh, God. I was at Jackie Mason the other night, and a woman behind me got the... She bought a box... You buy a box of sweets. The only place you ever buy a box of sweets is the theatre. You always buy a bag. And she was...
Not the Malteser.
So all I could do was...
like his hearing aid.
Oh, it was exactly. It was like I was on the loop and it wasn't quite working. I don't know if you've ever plugged into the loop in a theatre. Sometimes I do it just for the hell of it. But I was intrigued by this, and it made me think that I've always been a bit down on people who I see reading in public. Like, you see people sometimes walking down the street reading a book.
I do that sometimes.
Do you? You don't.
I do. If I'm really into it, I can't stop myself.
You'll walk down the street reading a book?
Sometimes. If I know I haven't got far to go to my destination and I don't have heels on, I might read half a page, just till I get to the end of the chapter.
Surely reading's a static pastime. You can't...
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
No. Oh, I can see I'm on my own here.
No, but I admire it in a way, but I do find it... I suppose it's just like a medieval iPod.
Yeah.
Because you'd listen to an audio book.
On the go.
Yeah, and if you flick the pages quickly, it's like putting it on shuffle.
People text walking down the street, that's no different.
No, they do. You're quite right.
That's true, they hate text on the move. You hate that?
Why
do you hate that?
I deliberately walk into people who are reading their phone. I do. I deliberately walk into them as a lesson, as a subtle lesson.
You've got a right streak in you, haven't you?
Well, you just got to keep, you got to keep aware. We live in one of the great cities. You can't. It's not like you're in the country, you can be wandering and won't see anyone for half a mile. People walking straight at you. Me. Yeah, you just get those blokes who sit in pubs as well. Now, the odd thing about that is I would happily sit in a cafe or a pub and read a newspaper and think nothing of it. If I got a book out, I'd think, oh no, I feel really self-conscious now.
Bit strange.
But why? Why would you feel self-conscious?
Because a book looks like it's a book. You know what I mean? That's quite a big thing to be reading.
The obscure.
What about halfway between a paper and a book is a phone book?
Magazine?
Phone book?
I wouldn't read it. A phone book.
Imagine seeing you reading a phone book.
No, magazines, that's what...
Frank's melting down.
Yeah, Frank's doing that big memory thing for Sport Relief.
He's reading Thompson Local.
He's got to do all the A's in Luton on the night. That was an interesting thing before Steve was saying that... what you said about the Encyclopaedia Britannica?
Well, it started off, you said to me that they're not...
They're not going to do. They're not going to do a hard copy anymore.
Yeah.
They're just going to do online.
And they're moving online. And I told Frank that when I grew up in South Wales, quite a tough climate. But we had one encyclopedia. We had the letter E. So I didn't realise.
What did you have? The letter E.
The letter E.
Oh, was I in there?
Well,
no, it was
child actress.
Yeah.
Comes under C, doesn't it? But it's incredible because we knew everything about E, and I never realised there was 25 other volumes of information out there.
Yeah.
I just thought it was all about elephants.
But, I've always admired a specialist. Well, if all the specialist knowledge is things beginning with E, would be so brilliant. So, in fact, the sort of I Spy intellectual. If anyone's just tuned in and said, I know everything about E, can I point out we're talking about the Encyclopaedia Britannica?
Can you tell Mr. C to stop texting in?
Incidentally, is the Encyclopaedia Britannica in under E?
Is it oh, yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Are they self-referential, do you mean?
Or is it under B for Britannica?
Are they in at all?
It says Encyclopaedia Britannica, then it says duh. That's what it says in the Encyclopaedia Britannica.
But I missed that because it was a kind of collective experience that everyone sort of had the same books. Like everyone had a World Atlas as well.
But did anyone ever get out the Encyclopaedia Britannica in order to look up the Encyclopaedia Britannica? I wonder what this is. There's the E. What a brilliant idea. Sort of like self-basting.
So, Frank, enough about that. A bit more about me. I'd like to talk about... an excursion I had this week.
Oh, I love Emily's excursions.
Well, you'll like this one.
I feel that we need a bit of a theme tune for Emily's excursions.
EE. Oh, perfect.
So, where did you go?
Well, Frank, I went to see Sweeney Todd, the Stephen Sondheim musical.
Oh, I didn't think you meant the real person.
Yeah, well, I know you're a fan as well.
I am. I'm actually going next week.
I know, so I won't spoil it. No spoilers.
No.
You won't spoil Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
The story's out there, isn't it?
Well, in terms of
films and
I'm the pie element.
Yeah, you know the pie element.
The pie element, can I say, we're a great band.
I won't give you a review, though. We'll discuss that after you've seen it.
All wore tracksuit tops, Fred Perry tracksuit tops.
3.142 fans.
Yeah.
But
Go on. No, don't tell me.
I won't review it.
Okay.
We'll discuss it once you've seen it. It's Michael Ball and Imelda Staunton, Steve.
Nice.
And but I did have a fabulous celeb spot whilst I was there. I'd say it's on a par with your Richard Osman, to be honest, because
Surely
I've
not.
met the great Steve. I've met Jim Carrey. I've met Russell Crowe. I've even met Salman Rushdie during his Fatwa year. Salman Rushdie.
Did you really?
Yes.
What were you doing in the cupboard?
I wasn't in a cupboard.
thanks. Boris Becker said, "Can't you see we're busy? Get out, Salman." I'm in trouble here. I'm being chased by some crazy guys.
But
My impression of Salman Rushdie.
I spotted, Frank, Baz Bamigboy, and I've always been rather obsessed by Baz Bamigboy. Are you familiar with his work?
Well, look, I don't want to offend Baz.
He's the
Bamig.
theatre critic
Is he?
at the Daily Mail.
Okay.
He's quite jolly-faced.
I'm not warming to him. Theatre critic, Daily Mail. They're piling up, aren't they? Okay.
But I was very excited, so I sort of was stalking him a little bit, and then he was in.
What does he look like?
Well, he looks not unlike the Bishop of York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's that sort of. I think he might even have a gap in his tooth.
No, you're kidding me.
Yes, he's that much of a lookalike.
That's
He's
probably-
committed.
Yeah.
He's had
That's
the players
because
in between them.
when he's writing his reviews,
Yeah.
he wedges a small torch in there in the theatre. It's perfect.
But he went to the coat check, and what I liked was that he got a raincoat and a briefcase, which no one really does that anymore.
Were they his?
It was like a dad in an old sitcom, like a dad in Sorry or something.
Do you know, it's a really weird. I went out with a friend on Friday night, pre-Jackie Mason,
Yeah.
and he arrived with a briefcase. And he's
It
not.
was
like-
Inspector Gadget, though, to be fair.
Yeah, he's not an office. I mean, he's a radio presenter himself, and he had a proper leather briefcase.
Was
that
it
he
the OC?
bought in Argentina.
So is the briefcase dead now? Has it been replaced by the mini rucksack?
Well, I tell you what, it's been. There's those things on wheels.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I won't even
Oh,
go
yeah.
into.
Yeah.
But yeah, people will have a rock. You see sort of people in those people in suits who have trainers on so they can walk to work.
Yeah.
Those people, they'll have a rucksack.
With one strap over one shoulder.
I'm thinking I might go briefcase. I like the look of it. I was
Do you-
impressed.
I think it would suit you. But if you were going to opt for your T-shirt/suit combo, Microsoft style, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's going to work, Frank.
Well, I think I will look then. I'll look like sort of Steve Jobsy when because I've got me T-shirt on,
Yeah. And I
tucked in me jeans.
What
and
would
a
they wear,
briefcase.
Steve? Though, would they have a rucksack? The sort of Microsoft posse.
Oh yeah, one arm in one strap. They wouldn't go two straps. One strap,
Oh,
rucksack
yes.
in the back. But I like the idea of Frank having a briefcase but keeping silly stuff in there. Like he just opens it at a meeting and there's like an Iggle Piggle Pig or something that vibrates.
Oh, I don't know what an Iggle Piggle Pig is.
That's a little toy, isn't it?
What are those Haribo pigs? What are they called?
Percy Pig.
Percy Pig.
Percy pigs. Thank you very much. That was
The producer.
Daisy, our producer who never speaks, was so enthusiastic at the mention of Percy pigs. It just came out.
And then she put her hand over her mouth, aghast, like she'd said a Category C swear word.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think we find. We do a little bit of advertising.
Oh, yeah,
accidentally.
occasionally.
I have trouble with the old cloakroom thing. I rarely.
Oh, do you, Frank?
I rarely put anything in the cloakroom.
Why not?
What's that?
I always think there's going to be a queue at the end of the event.
Yes,
And
well,
I-
there is.
And I'll have to queue to get my own jacket. You know what I mean? It seems ludicrous.
It's called life.
Yeah. And
He doesn't queue.
I've been to matches, football matches now for 40 odd years, and I never, ever, ever leave before the end. I
You
don't
never
care.
leave before the end?
If we're 4-0 up, 4-0 down, I'm not one of those people who says, I missed the traffic.
Wouldn't that be brilliant if they did that in a theatre?
Yeah, but I'm thinking.
Just people.
But the only time I ever think about doing it is if I've put a coat in the cloakroom at the theatre, and I think I might.
Hang
Yeah.
on.
I might go earlier.
You leave
so
the
I could,
theatre before the end of the...
well, I think I might. You know that bit where it goes dark. And it goes dark at the end, and you think, is that the end? That's probably the end, but it might not. I'm out. I'm off to the cloakroom at that
You
point.
might miss something. My friend did that once in Casino Royale, and she missed him saying the name's Bond, James Bond. She was so desperate to leave.
Well, he said it right at the end, didn't he?
Yes, he says it at the end, I think you'll find.
I just love the idea of Frank. Someone go to Frank. Frank, do you see it? Do you see the twist in the end? He's like, what?
Yeah, but at
It's
least.
in the cloakroom.
Okay, but I'll have my coat on. and me briefcase.
I'm not going to the usual suspects with you.
Also, I made a terrible... The last time I used a cloakroom, I made the worst error of all, is I put... You know the pound... You usually put a pound down as a sort of a tip. Are you aware of this, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did it while the woman still had her back. I went to... I reached for the pocket. She turned the second thing, and I put it down. She didn't see me put it down, and I thought, now... I've put the pound down. She thinks I haven't put a pound down. I'm not putting another one down. This is how reputations start. And it was such a... Oh, man, I felt... If I pick it up and put it down, she'll think he's just took one off the plate and put it back on again. Can you believe he did that? Would have been the worst thing.
Or you make reference to it. That one in the middle's mine. I put that,
Yeah, what I need to do is get some marked pounds. With just a little... With my...
initials on the back.
Your autograph.
Maybe one with like a hole with a string on it, maybe. Yes. That would... Where have I seen that?
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I once had a job...
Is that the end of the sentence?
Congratulations.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I once had a job giving away leaflets in the street.
Oh, yeah.
For Sweeney Todd.
Did you?
The opera. In Stafford. They were doing it in Stafford.
Oh.
And I was dressed as a Victorian gentleman with a cane and top hat.
I'd love to see
Spats.
I never knew about this career
No, neither did the Supplementary Benefit Office. It suddenly occurs to me as I tell this story. Nevertheless,
so I backdate you,
I had to stand there. Obviously, I'm making this up. I had to stand there. It was a cold day, dressed as a Victorian gentleman. I remember one kid come up to me and said, "Are you like Doctor Who?" And it's a complete misinterpretation.
They weren't familiar with the works of Stephen Sondheim.
No, well, I mean, they hadn't helped me out. They didn't give me a pie or a cutthroat race or anything. I was just a Victorian person. I mean, I might not have even gone to the shop. I was an extra, like an extra walking past. I mean, give me the Sweeney Todd. If they'd have given me an apron with blood and a pie and all that, it would have been fine. And I stood there for ages. It's just such a depressing... If you've ever handed out leaflets, it's such a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. I've done it.
And I did it for 4 hours till I got rid of my very last leaflet. I was so conscientious. And I'd say I'd walked 100 yards. I passed 2 bins. And each of them runneth over with these leaflets. I could have completely eliminated the middleman and just gone and put them in bins. So... I've always got a bit of a shudder when I think of Sweeney Todd, fine musical as it may be.
Well, I look forward to hearing what you think. But it wasn't my only... I had some more Sondheim. I went to the cinema as well, Frank, this week, because I was watching a live satellite link-up to a performance of a Sondheim musical in New York. As you can imagine, it was just the sort of demographic in the cinema. There was a lot of... sort of elderly gentlemen in pairs with glasses on lanyards.
I'm with you.
You know where we are here?
Yes.
Wives wait in the lobby reading books.
No wives, darling.
Yeah,
no wives.
Probably no wives. If you'd have gone a month later, would they have had pastel shade sweaters knotted around their necks?
Very much so.
Lovely.
But I'm afraid the sound failed very early on.
Oh, no.
And they didn't take it well. They got quite hysterical.
I bet.
One man, it was like his entire family had been wiped out. He went, "Oh, God!" It was like he was crying.
That is terrible, because you're not going to get that back again if it's a live performance, are you?
No. Well, a sort of callow youth came up and said, "If you would like to come and see me afterwards." And I said, "What, so we can have a go at you?" He said, No, he did offer refunds. I couldn't be bothered to queue. But,
well,
I like the retro nature of the sound failing, Frank, 'cause it sort of doesn't happen very often these days.
Well,
It's human.
I had the most retro cinema failure. I went to see Rush Hour. This has been a few years back. You know Rush Hour, Jackie Chan.
Yeah, Jackie Chan.
And the film stopped, but it stopped in a sort of a cinema paradiso kind of a way. It didn't stop in a modern way at all. Have you ever seen this? The sort of film catches fire from the centre. But that happened.
Wow.
It didn't.
It did. That happened. I didn't think that could happen anymore in modern technology.
That's a Chemical Brothers video.
Yeah, and this has been whenever the first Rush Hour came out. I don't know, but we'd seen probably an hour and 10 of the movie, and we didn't get the refund offer. They said that they gave us some things, and they said if you want to come back and see the film again.
I wonder if there's people who left the cinema thinking that was the end. Like, it was a bit of an odd ending.
Yeah.
Caught fire in the middle.
Can I say I was moved to London by this point?
Before you make assumptions.
Yeah, unless you suggest that Rush Hour got a hardcore Brummy following wherever it played. A bit like myself. So, I never went back. I've never seen it since. I've never seen the last half hour of Rush Hour. I love the film. I really enjoyed it. Very entertaining.
That's to your credit, isn't it?
Pardon?
That's to your credit, isn't it?
That I never went back.
Yeah. Never go back for it. I've never seen E.T. and I never will. That's my lifelong...
Well, it's a slightly different debate, isn't it? I've seen an hour and 10 of this film. I might as well finish it off. Besides, you're wrong about E.T. I'd say E.T. arguably in top 10 greatest films ever made.
It is, but it's my thing that I've never seen.
You've never seen it?
Yeah, I love it. And I love the fact I've never seen it.
That's ridiculous. That's just deliberately missing out on something that can be really entertaining. No. You're the sort of Anne Widdecombe of the cinema. if you've
elected to walk out, that's different, I think. Well, in that case, you had no choice, Frank, really.
I know, but I could have gone back. I feel stupid I haven't seen the end of it.
No, I don't think you should.
I'll tell you what I had. I had some kids sitting behind me in John Carter in 3D.
Oh, yeah.
And, they get the seat kickers.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate kneaders more. I had that at Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, well, there was a woman sitting next to me, and she decided to turn around and give the big stare both to the children and the pet. I mean, she turned around and she stared for what must have been about 15 seconds. I mean, it was...
Yeah.
But you can't... You see, when you go to the biggest screen in Britain, imagine how big the 3D glasses are. It looked like a very assertive Sue Pollard. It wasn't frightening anybody. You know what I mean? You can't do an authoritative stare at enormous 3D spectacles. It was a complete waste of time. Enough. What else is going on in the world?
Well, talking of wastes of time, Virgin...
Can I say you're my favourite waste of time?
Oh, that's lovely. Owen Paul. What's happened to him?
I don't know.
He sung that song.
I think I robbed Peter as an offshoot of Owen Paul.
Oh, your new neighbour will like that joke this week, Frank. If he's moved in yet.
I don't think he's moved. I think the Archbishop is doing the Christmas sermon.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, you have to serve notice.
Oh, that's good.
I think, yeah. He's got to get that pulpit down.
Does he go on gardening leave? They should give him gardening leave. So anyway, talking of waste of time, apparently Virgin Atlantic, they're employing a whispering coach, which I think sounds a rather strange decision on their part.
Is that the quiet coach on a train?
Yeah.
The idea is that their staff will be trained to speak at a decibel level that's going to be comforting to passengers. Because people get quite stressed when they're flying. So I don't know. It's going to be 20 to 30 decibels. I don't know what that is, but I suspect it's a lot quieter than me.
Well, if it's a whisper, I mean, it's a whisper.
It's half the volume of a normal adult conversation.
Oh, okay.
So it's like that.
Sorry, everyone. The plane is on fire. It's not going to help, is it? Saying it quietly won't help.
Imagine if you sat down the back, you wouldn't even hear them.
Oh, God, that would be terrible. No, I suppose it's when they just say, when you press the light and they come over and say, "Can I help you, sir?"
That sounds like the Boston Strangler.
Yeah, get lost.
Oh, that's scary.
Get lost. That's what I'd say to her. My girlfriend, Kat, does this thing. If we're in a restaurant... She barely looks at me in a restaurant. She's such a rubbernecker. She's listening to everything, and she's always on about the woman on the next table and stuff like that. But she won't risk a whisper in case the woman hears. So she mimes, which is 10 times worse. So if there's a woman with a big loose throat, you get those women with a big loose throat. The wind affected. The wind affected What do they call it on a chicken, that bit? Is it the gizzard?
Yes, I believe so.
I don't think it is, you know. It's got a good name.
Oh, it has. We'll remember it in a minute, Frank.
Is it the what? Is it
the wattle.
The wattle.
Wattle.
Yeah. You see, you get people with that, the big loose wattle. And we were sitting, we were close to a big wattle recently. And Kath, instead of saying, look at the wattle on that woman, she starts going, and doing like a miming one on her throat with her fingers slightly waving in the breath. And you think, well, that's the worst possible way. I suppose the master of whispering would be Sooty.
Oh.
Sooty?
Unless you're really close to Sooty, you can't hear a damn thing. Matthew Corbett would get right in there and go, what's that, Sooty? Yes, I agree with that. Yes, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. Yes, you're right about the 50p tax. I mean, stuff like that. But I couldn't hear the slightest thing.
Well, I don't actually like whisperers. It makes me feel a bit sick, because I don't like it. When people they talk like that, and they could have eaten chives or something. I mean, I just don't like people's voices near my ear. I don't like it. In person, I don't mind on the radio. But I don't like people that near me. Maybe it's what we're discovering.
You don't like a whisper in the ear? I find often in a club or a crowded bar, people will lean in and shout.
Shout, yeah.
And that, when you feel that there's some nerve in your inner ear that hurts when they do that. I can't cope with
the wattle of your inner ear.
Yeah, the wattle.
No, I like whisperers. Like you can't watch the snooker. But the snooker, you need a guy whispering. It's part of the atmosphere.
Oh, that's true, Steve.
You couldn't have someone shouting.
But they don't whisper like Ted. Ted Lowe, the classic, who used to say, the game of chess played on the green baize. Now, the reason he did that is because they didn't used to have a commentator's box in the early days.
That right?
So he was literally sitting in the audience going, so Joe Davis comes up, so that they didn't put the... So they don't need to whisper now, but... I also know that he had an answer phone that said, this is Ted Lowe's answer phone. I'm afraid you're snookered. I'm out. And it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I don't like it, thanks, when drunks whisper either.
Do drunks ever whisper?
Yes, because they go, shh, you'll wake them up.
Oh, yeah.
In what I call a drunk whisper, which is louder than a normal decibel level of 60 to 70.
That could be a problem on the plane. Where so many of the cabin crew are drunk. What I'd like to know, the horse whisperer, is that a pun?
What do you mean?
Is it like the horse?
I see.
Is that why he calls it the horse whisperer?
Sorry, it took me a while. I went a bit down her hair.
Is it though? Is it?
No,
it's just because he talks to the horses.
No, I know that, but I know what it's about. But I'm wondering.
But you're saying,
when you come up with a title, you often come up with a pun.
Yeah.
No, because the man who wrote it is a very serious BBC man that knows my father, actually.
Is that right?
And he wouldn't have done that.
Okay.
He's not a gag merchant. I don't praise him for that. I think it would have been a very fine pun.
I bet he's a gig merchant. That was a horse joke, which I'm not totally sure about. It is a gig, isn't it? Is that what they call those small carts?
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
They were cool.
And some of them did fall on stony ground.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.